You mentioned the brands. You've had a number of new manufacturers or manufacturers committing to the new regulations. You mentioned Nissan, Lamborghini. You've got Ford with the GT. You've also got cars that are in on sort of a grandfather clause from the previous series, like Maserati and Chevrolet. Do you believe that they will commit to building new cars to the full current regulations?
The problem now, it's like, first of all, I think we've balanced from the pre-season tests we've done. I think the FIA is again doing an excellent job balancing this time cars, but they're not really, if you think about it, they're not really all cars in a way that, you don't have a Corvette C7 existing, you don't have a Maserati MC13, and you don't have an Aston Martin DB10. These cars are still the latest model there is, and it's difficult for a manufacturer to just rebuild a new car just for a change of regulation, which could be dealt with by just balancing the performance, especially in this economic climate. I think it would have been unreasonable to ask them to redevelop cars based on the same model. What we've done was just common sense, and I think it was had to be done, and nobody really gonna care if it's if the cars are 3 years old or if they are just been produced last year. Doesn't really matter.
One of the interesting things about the new format is you've gone to shorter races. When we think of GT racing and sports car racing in general, you're thinking of endurance. Why the decision to go to these shorter races? Is that purely a television decision or is it economic?
No, it's many different factors. I've been for 15 years been working in what we call sports car and long distance racing, and I've seen that on the long term it's a very difficult format to promote because it's difficult to create entertainment for the public, and it's also very difficult to promote it on television. You need some very big historical event like the 24, and there are really four on the planet. You have Le Mans 24 hours, you have Sebring 12 hours, you have 24 hours of Spa, and you have the 24 hours of Nürburgring, which have been there for decades, and they have big existing crowds. So when you come there, the race become almost secondary to the party time you're having. So to succeed in long-distance racing, basically, you need a lot of people. But to attract a lot of people, you need so it's a chicken and egg situation, which is not easy to reproduce starting from scratch. In addition to that, I'm also a partner in the Le Mans series that we launched a couple of years ago. So it was difficult to have two endurance formats with FIA and with the ACO. So we clearly moved from that, and we offered something which is different, that we developed, progressively across the years. We started in national championships to have these 2 one-hour races. Then it developed very well into GT3, which has been a very successful formula. So we said if it works on the national level, if it works internationally with GT3, we should apply it to GT1. And that has worked very, very well. But it's true, it took me 15 years. We started with 4-hour race, then 3 hours, then 2 hours, and finally I am at these 2 one-hour races, which is far easier to market.
You mentioned the Le Mans series and the ACO. The American Le Mans series, you've got a big field of GT2 cars happening at the moment. Corvette have committed to their GT2 car. Paul Gentilosi's built the Jaguar. Where do you see GT2 as fitting into the whole picture? Where's its place in the SRO sort of vision of sports car racing?
But we have a problem with it because GT3 is killing it. We have to be, I know people look at Le Mans. We've tried to unify regulation between FIA and ACO. We did unify this regulation, but the ACO is really praised their independence to a very high level, and they have continued homologating cars without really the consent of the other manufacturer. You have to understand the way technical regulation works. With FIA, you have a standard regulation, and any manufacturer building a car, when you start from production cars, you need modification from these rules. You usually need what we call waiver. And with the FIA, these waivers need to be accepted by the other manufacturers, and that's the way the system works and has always worked. It's quite democratic in its functioning. And the ACO has a totally different approach because they can decide whatever they want. And they homologated the Corvette and the BMW M3 which were not accepted by the other manufacturers within the FIA system. So we first of all end up in a category where some cars are not homologated and run, together. And on top of that, the comparative cost between GT2 and GT3 is very, very different now and cannot be justified anymore. At the first pre-season test, we had the two Porsche there. The Porsche GT2 is like 420,000 euros to buy. A GT3 is 280,000 euro, and the GT3 was quicker than the GT2. So unless you want to go racing at Le Mans where you don't have GT3, most teams, they don't really see the point of buying far more expensive cars.
You mentioned GT3. The Australian GT Championship kicks off next weekend on the streets of Adelaide as a supporters of the Clipsal 500. That category seems to be growing at a national level, both here and, as you say, around the world. What's your future for the GT3? Where do you see that in, say, 5 years' time?
I mean, GT3 is an amazing success. I mean, it's we have already this year 12 different models from 13 different models from 12 brands being homologated, and we have, I'm sure I have another 3 brands coming next year. So we're going to be like 16 models, 15 brands in one category. I don't think it ever happened in the history of motorsport to have so different brands within the same category. It's very simple, Why is it a success? Because 15 years ago, once again, if you wanted to go around the track with sports cars, you had, with a Countach or a Ferrari Testarossa, you wouldn't have done 3 laps. In 15 years, the automotive industry has made huge progress. Most of the sports cars become really very, very good, very reliable. Well, now, as proven by GT3, with a limited amount of preparation, you can have very good race cars. And that's why GT racing is such a success, because if you want to do a competitive touring car, you've got to modify so many things that it becomes very expensive. While from a Gallardo, or any of these sports cars with very little modification starting from road cars, you can have a very good competition machine. So that exactly explains the success of GT3. And to my opinion, it's not going to stop there. And you're going to see in the coming months some big announcements, and you're going to think, wow. And we started it with private tuners, and now all the new projects, all the new cars are being built by the manufacturer directly. I mean, we had Audi last year. This year we have the BMW Z4, which is absolutely superb.
You mentioned the new technology. We saw that the Geneva Auto Show last week. The release of both Porsche and Ferrari had hybrid technology. Porsche have indicated they're very keen to race that technology in this year's Nürburgring 24-hour. Where do you see the place for hybrid technology and these new evolving technologies such as the diesel and all that sort of thing coming in sports car racing?
I see it in GT2, not the proposal we've made, because as I said, because of the relative performance, GT2 really doesn't have a reason of being anymore into the FIA environment. It's why we proposed with FIA to work on an exclusive hybrid technology, hybrid championship for maybe 2012 or something like that. It's going to take some time, but I think we need to have a category which promotes this alternative technology, but that can be only done with manufacturers. The rest of GT racing, our point of view is that we need manufacturer support, but we need to start from production cars, and they need to be run by independent teams. While if you want to go into hybrid, we need to start from prototype in the sense that low volume, cars being built, almost just a couple of them to go racing by the manufacturers. And so we need, in that category, direct manufacturer involvement. So we will propose the class, and we will see who's interested. But I'm confident we could have a future there.
Stephane, we could speak about this for ages, but we're already way over time. We've taken up so much of your time. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that we'll get the opportunity to perhaps catch up with you face to face, either here in Australia and have you in at the studio, or perhaps hopefully, even more hopefully, if we get over to Europe. But for the moment, Stephane Ratel, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.